Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today's card is going to feature the textured floral bundle. I'm only using the stamp set, but look at those amazing dies there. Oh my gosh, I've been seeing these dies and actually didn't know that they came in this set. So I'm playing with this set. You can see I'm going to be using a technique called a faux tile technique. Now I made this card, but I forgot a couple elements on here, but we're gonna make it together. But I was inspired to make this faux tile card by a beautiful card that one of my team members sent me, Kathy Krebs, and she used this technique. And so I just did a little bit different. You can see she used the circle sayings and the Regency Park. Oh, how pretty is that? I love the small sentiment with a bigger frame on the inside and the cute little punched out flowers. So this was my inspiration. Thank you, Kathy, a beautiful card. And so I'm going to show you what I did with it. Now we're going to be making a grid, and then we're going to be doing some embossing on here with a wet embossing with Versamark and clear embossing powder. Now one thing when you start this technique, it is nice to have an equal amount, and I actually should have measured Kathy's, and then I wouldn't have had to sit there and try to do math. But what I decided to do was go with a 4x5, okay? So you're just gonna put that 5-inch side, either side that you put up there, you're just going to score at 1 inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, then turn it this way. 1, 2, 3. So this is 4 inches and this is 5 inches. And to simply be able to make that make sense on your card, all I did was I cut down the width of my card to 5 1/4. Nobody's going to know that that 1/4 inch isn't there. And then it's going to fit on there with a perfect 1/8 inch border around it. So that meant I started with a half sheet of cardstock that was 8 1/2 by 5 1/4. I scored it at 4 1/4, the halfway mark on the 8 1/2, but it only is 5 1/4. That way I kind of cheated it a little bit, and then it'll fit on there perfectly. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you are going to, we're going to take a little look here at the one I did. You're going to try not to get any ink in these lines here. And I did get a little ink, but I'll tell you it's because I pressed too hard. So what you're going to do is make sure that your grid is not the bumpy side up. It has to be the valley showing. So you're stamping on the valley side that has the little divots in it. And what I did is I just picked some colors. I was actually inspired by this card in the catalog here with the Flirty Flamingo and the Berry Burst and some Mossy Meadow. And I did use Daffodil, but I think they used Lemon Lolly there. But that was my inspiration. Don't forget, when you get a new stamp set and you think you were going to do 100,000 things with it, and then you sit there with Stamper's Block, go to the catalog. Look at what they have in there. So I'm going to start with my Flirty Flamingo, ink that up. And this is a distinctive one. One thing, if you have an ink pad that's really juicy and you ink it up and you see some of it pulled on there, if you take one of your sponge daubers to get a little bit of the ink off of there, it will make the distinctive really show out. Because that's one of the hard things with the distinctive and you have a juicy pad. So Flirty Flamingo. And like I said, when you go to stamp this, you're going to want to no heavy stamp light like usually. Just stamp, pull up, and then you can see the white lines in between that image. And remember, this is a distinctive stamp, so it's got that like muted, soft look. So I'm going to do Berry Burst now. I'm using actually my old Berry Burst ink pad because I have my newer one was packed with a project I was working on. So we're going to do the Berry Burst, and I think I want to do it right here. And once again, I just want to make sure I'm not doing a heavy touch, because I want these white lines to show. Sometimes it's hard to do, but that is the goal. So now we're going to go with these flowers here, kind of like that part that you always see popped out of a bouquet. And I'm going to use my daffodil and just get that daffodil there. I'm going to put it kind of so that you can see a bit of it. And once again, don't do it too heavy, because you want to see those white lines. And then I'm going to use my Mossy Meadow on this leaf. Now this one definitely has a dark and a light on the actual ink when you see it. This is the one that is a little tricky because you want to make sure you press it down, but just a light touch. down, and up. And see, I still have my white in there. It's better to get more white than no white. So I'm just going to use that same leaf, link here, and put it over here, down, up. No pressing hard. Okay, so then we need to put these little filaments in here. I forgot to do that on my finished card here. So I'm going to use Berry Burst. I'm going to use Berry Burst kind of right up here in the pink. Okay, and I kind of did it so that I wasn't touching that white there. And then I think what I'm going to do I'm going to wipe off this one because I did do a Berry Burst, but I'm going to see if I can get some yellow into the middle here of this one. So I'm going to use the yellow, the daffodil, ink it up, and try to get a little bit of it to show in the middle there. Nice. And part of it is actually covered anyhow, but you just wanted to see a little bit variation there. So now we have this grid. Now the next thing we're going to do is we want to cover this entire, and I'm going to turn on my heat gun right now. Hopefully it won't be too noisy for you over the video, but I want it to get nice and hot because it makes your embossing, when you go to emboss it, so much easier. So I'm just going to use my piercing tool here and to hold this down because I don't want to use my fingers because I'm just getting all of this image nice and covered with Versamark. Get the whole thing covered. And then I can lift up where I was, and now it seems to kind of have the weight of the Versamark on it. Get Versamark all over there. Then close my Versamark, and I'm going to bring my clear embossing powder. I keep them in these little containers I get like at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cover it with just making sure I get around those edges. Just cover this whole thing with clear embossing powder. I'm not sure which brand I have here. Stampin' Up sells it, but I may have had another brand also from a time that you go somewhere and you don't have your embossing powder. And okay, so now I'm gonna take my, where is it? My little tweezers. Oh, they're over where I was embossing. So I'm still here, kids. Look at that grid there. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just pull this up ever so slightly, putting my tweezer on there. Then I can kind of grab it this way, and you can see the coverage on there. It turned kind of a vanilla color. I'm going to move this carefully over someplace that I won't spill it. And then I'm going to emboss. And like I said, I got it nice and heated. And then when your embossing gun is hot, your tool, it'll start the embossing. And just keep moving around the heating tool because you'll see it start to get clear. So you can see it start getting clear there. See how it's getting darker? And it gives you that look of ceramic tile. Some of those beautiful ceramic tiles that have floral patterns on them. And just make sure you're moving your embossing tool around so it doesn't burn in any one spot. But like I said, it does take a while, but you want to make sure that it's totally, I know here I need to get a little more kind of hard to do with my extension cord here. I don't know if I really like that yellow in the middle there. Maybe. But I love the berry burst in the middle of the floaty flamingo flower. Okay, let's get embossed here. Come on. Get a little closer. Oh, the heat's starting to work now. Just doing each square And you don't actually have to do embossing. I mean, you saw Kathy's card is beautiful with just the grid on there. But this is another step up you can do here and make it look like faux ceramic tile. Okay, now I'm going to take a look at this and see if I got all of it. Looks like it could use a little more here, a little here. Not the best thing to do with your hands, but I don't want to get my tweezers in on the action because it's going to end up, come on, get clear here. Whoop, flying here. Ah, there we go. You have to be a little patient with this. And then it seems like all of a sudden it's just going perfect. So I'm just going to make sure, believe it or not, guys, I've worked up a sweat here beneath my lights when I'm making a video, and then I have overhead lights above my desk. I worked up a sweat here. Okay, I do believe we are done. Turn this off. Thanks for understanding that I needed to have that noise there. Move my things over a little bit. Okay, so now you'll notice it's all clear. And you can see that I've covered the whole thing with embossing powder. Sometimes when you're embossing, especially when you're not doing it on a flat surface, it gets a little bit curled. So I'm just kind of coaxing it back into being flat. My surface is nice and clean. And I am going to use some glue on the back of here. I'm going to actually grab another sheet of copy paper, and I am just going to put, especially in those corners, because it has a tendency, like I said, to curl up. So I'm going to make sure I have a nice amount of glue right there in those corners. And I am going to be nice and liberal. I mean, making it small, little pieces of strips of glue, streaks of glue, but I want to really get a nice coverage of that so that I can put it onto the card. And like I said, I just cheated a little bit and I made my card 5 1/4 wide. And then we can just take and put this pretty ceramic tile on here. And like I said, one of the things when you're using this technique and you want to keep your grids all the same, you have to think a little bit out of the box with your measurements. I think this actually would have looked pretty with another, like the darker here, but I kind of just haven't used Fleur de Flamingo for a while, and they did it in the catalog and I thought it was really pretty. So now to make and see the difference of having that little middle in the flower made. Now what I did for my sentiment, which is so pretty too, is I took and I started with 4-inch strips, because what I'm going to do is put those, I just thought that white looks kind of stark against that. Maybe we should emboss this too. I think we might try that. So I'm going to use my Banner's Pick-a-Punch, and I'm going to put this 4-inch piece in the side that has the banner with the tip that's not pointy on 2 sides. I'm going to look here, make sure and that little piece comes out. Make sure you're looking at the back. Do it the same on each side. Push that in, and then make sure you see that it's in the back. Sometimes it'll go slanted if it's not perfect 1 inch. And then I'm going to stamp the sentiment on there. The sentiment, I hear a cough coming on. Every thought of you makes me smile. So I did that in Mossy Meadow. Get some ink on there, Mossy Meadow. And I think I am going to emboss that as well. Every thought of you, just see that it's straight on there. Stamp down. And take that out off of there. Excuse me, I am so sorry. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I am going to emboss this. So I'm going to take my Versamark and go over the sentiment. We're going to see what that looks like being embossed. Now, if I was using my craft mat, I could wipe this Versamark right off, couldn't I? So we're going to come back over with, actually, well, no, I'm still going to do it this way. No, why don't I do this? Ah, it doesn't really matter. They're going to be wasted paper anyhow. Okay, I'm just going to cover that. Ooh, I should turn on my heat gun. Maybe it's still going to be warm from doing the tile. But I just thought it looked a little stark. It might actually look nice. To be embossed as well. And then it would have the same color. Now I'm going to stick this back in its container. Pop. Grab that. Oh, I feel like I'm waiting for an accident to happen with all my ink pads open. Ah, stay where you're supposed to stay, little guy. Get up there. Well, why don't I just, let's see, I can already tell that there's a little piece that my, okay, that's better. Now, oh, I got another piece. See, if you take a good look before you start embossing, it's like right where I moved it. I think that it's good now. So it should be nice and hot now. Stay in place. Thank you, thank you. Oh, look how nice that's looking. Oh, I'm glad I did this. It's gonna have that same effect as the tile. Ah. This is becoming I've done this a few times where I've put a mark where I was holding it. That's why I'm kind of being like a little crazy here, not wanting to touch anything. Okay. Oh, this is looking nice. Now the weight of the embossing powder as it melts, it gets heavier. So, oh, yes. Okay, so now we're going to turn that little guy off. And thanks, Stampin' Jesus, that none of my ink pads have done anything crazy here, but I am closing them because this is driving me bonkers. Because I just feel like something's going to happen if I don't close all these ink pads. Oh, they're just like an accident waiting to happen. Okay, so there is our sentiment. And what I wanted to do to jazz that up is I took a 1/2-inch piece of the Flirty Flamingo, and I used my tag topper, but this time I did the pennants. And I'm not even going to worry about how long it is because I'm just going to, I'm going to cut it anyhow. Okay. And then I'm just going to take my snips, cut it in half there. I did try doing it with the strip I cut off, that 1/2-inch strip or 1/4 inch, but it was just too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my, I think this is all working here. The other day I had this all messed up here, my Stampin' seal. Oh, there we go. No, I did discombobulate that the other day, but I think I still have a snail over here. Yeah, so I'm just going to use that. I'm going to put some snail on the edge of here and the edge of here on the ends, and then I'm just going to take these little pennants and put I'm going to match up the point there. Actually, maybe, yeah. And then just make sure that you've done it about the same. I like a little more distance there. They give a little more show there. So maybe I can pull this one off here. No, I can't. So I will pull this one and make it smaller because it's not cooperating. So let's see. Yeah, those are about the same. Okay, now I'm going to put some dimensionals on here. You can see how it curls up a bit whenever you're embossing. That way I'm just going to put, dimensionals on there, take those off. There we go. And then we're going to put that onto our card. And I'm going to line up the little divots with the last grid. There you go. Now, see the difference that made changing that tag to be embossed with Versamark as well as the tile background? Yes, I'm so glad I made this video and figured that out. You can just see that nice tile look to it. And then on the inside, I'm gonna put something, but guess what? You're gonna have to jump over to my blog, cindyleebdesigns.com. Underneath the YouTube description, visit my blog here, press that button, it'll take you over there. You'll see additional photos. You can see links to my online store, which are also under the YouTube video. Subscribe while you're there to my blog, and you will get notified when I post Monday, Wednesday, Friday with a video on Wednesdays on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Remember, I'm doing a product share, so if you would like samples of all the ribbons, the embellishments, the designer series papers in the catalog, I'm taking orders till September 4th, so make sure you get on them. I think it is the best value you could possibly get. I send them to you with free shipping, so you're not adding on that $8 to $9 of shipping, so I think you'll find them very, very good deal. So jump over there and check that out, and thanks for buzzing by, friends.